everyone, and welcome to Holy Health. My guest today is Andreas David Christou. Andreas has an MSc. I'm assuming that's a master's of,
Masters.
master's degree as a movement specialist. He has a bachelor's as a nutritionist, lifestyle optimization coach, and a quantum health enthusiast. His personal journey began at 14 years old as an obese child. He was determined to find the missing piece of the health puzzle, so he embarked on a path of self-discovery, self-experimentation, and continuous education in the fitness industry. Throughout his journey, he faced and conquered various personal health struggles, realizing that health wasn't only about nutrition and exercise. Quantum health and circadian biology emerged as a significant player in optimizing his life, especially from an environmental perspective. This newfound knowledge significantly impacted his performance, overall health, and vitality. Currently, he educates and empowers others on quantum health, circadian biology, nutrition, lifestyle optimization, and through holistic movement practices. Most of the videos or most of the content I see that he puts out tends to be a lot of movement and flowing movement and just showing the way the human body can move. But what drew me, what made me want to interview him was he started talking about circadian rhythms and quantum biology. And I was like, okay, I've got to hear more about this.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly. I'm very passionate about that topic because it helped me out of a difficult place because I had my own personal health struggles and also my partner Tina had some personal health struggles as well. And we realized that, we were doing everything right in terms of nutrition and exercise and even sleeping 8 hours every night. But for some reason, we were not feeling optimal. And, I was experiencing brain fog and feeling more fried and tired, even when I slept 8 hours. So even when I woke up in the morning, I felt like, totally trashed, like I, couldn't even conquer the day. And so I realized that there's a missing piece, right, to this, that it's clearly, okay, I'm eating as I'm supposed to be doing. I'm training adequately, I'm getting outside, but there was some missing pieces which I was not aware of. And that's what led me to find, circadian biology and quantum health. And so this is why I'm very passionate about sharing it, because I realized that this is an underlying factor in people's lives where no one is paying attention to. So it's going, like totally like under the hood and it's impacting people's lives and they don't realize why people are feeling like crap because I was there. I can feel it. And even though supposedly I'm supposed to be a health coach and an example, how can I be an example if I'm not feeling optimal myself? So I always practice what I preach to the people in the world. And I call the people on social media that follow me, like, my tribe. Because, if you love what I put out there, you're part of my tribe. You're interested in learning, empowering, and educating yourself. And so that's what we want to do. We want to keep on growing the community and we want to bring other people in the circle because this information is so valuable because it's literally life-changing.
So before I ask you, and really that we start to delve into this, how did you find this? Can I ask like what it was that made you figure this out or see someone? Was there a person you saw or
Yeah,
something you read somewhere or
yeah. So yeah, it's quite funny really because I was having these like health struggles, which I mentioned about the brain fog, the fatigue and the tiredness and the lethargy, the lack of energy. And also my workouts were starting to get a little bit, started to suck a little bit as well, even though I was eating adequately and so on. And yeah, I was listening to podcasts and I kind of started listening to podcasts, before the pandemic started. That's when I kind of started listening to podcasts. And I heard a podcast with Dr. Jack Kruse. I don't know if you know him, but he's sort of like the godfather of quantum biology, and circadian rhythms. So he's kind of brought the wisdom to the world in an accessible way, and we are sort of reverberating or resharing his knowledge in our own field. So I'm sharing it from my perspective in my field of fitness, how it applies to my field of fitness to optimize recovery, performance, sleep better, recover better, to have good energy levels and to have good cognitive function because it has an impact on every single area of your life. And this is what we're going to dive deep into today about, that it literally impacts everything, every aspect of your life, not just, how you sleep or, how you feel, how you wake up in the morning. It impacts your cellular processes on a deep level. And so, yeah, I dove deeper, listening to more of his podcasts, and it really opened my eyes about how light, just the light that we are exposed to, whether that is sunlight or artificial lighting. Artificial light is any light which is man-made, basically. Anything apart from sunlight and firelight is artificial lighting. Okay, so it doesn't matter what color it is or whatever. And it opened my eyes to the fact that different frequencies of light, meaning different colors of the color spectrum, and also the electromagnetic fields that we receive from Wi-Fi routers, cell towers, phones, computers, microwaves, even electricity sockets, like anything that you plug into the electricity grid impacts your biology. So all of this, you're understanding how light alone can impact us and electromagnetism, because what is light? If we try and understand what is light in the first place, it's basically part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So it's electromagnetic, meaning it's something that we can't necessarily grasp with our hands, but it's there and it's impacting us on a quantum level. And this is where quantum biology comes in, right? Because everything has to do with electrons and how that impacts our system as a whole. Because the food that we eat at the end turns into electrons. That is why we eat food. But guess what? We only get 1/3 of our energy that we need from food. 1/3. So where do the other 2/3 come from? It comes from the sun and it comes from the ground. And this is why being outside in the sun and from grounding is so crucial. So we've probably heard about grounding before, putting our bare feet on grass or putting our bare feet in the sea. What this actually does is the Earth's surface has an electrical potential, a magnetic field, which is called the Schumann resonance. And that is literally giving off free electrons, which are negatively charged. Well, obviously, these free electrons can't be donated to us if we are lacking that energy. If we have too much electricity in our body, which we can actually charge our body with voltage from all our gadgets and electric devices, the Earth serves as a discharge of that excess voltage, because your body doesn't like to be out of balance. It likes to be in balance. So when you have excess voltage in your system, the grounding works by discharging your body. So that excess voltage and electricity leaves your body, which causes havoc, because if it stays inside of your body, it keeps your sympathetic nervous system excited too long. And keep staying in a sympathetically driven state for a long period of time is very energy costly. It robs you from your energy and it makes you tired and burnt out eventually. And so this is why grounding every day, not only does it give you energy, but it helps you to discharge that electrical potential or that voltage that you've accumulated from the Wi-Fi routers, cell towers, computer, phone, any electronic devices that we use in our daily lives. So grounding once in a day is essential. That's where we get 1/3 of our electrons, from the ground. Then the other third is from the sun. And so how does that happen? That happens through the photoelectric effect. So the photoelectric effect is when the rays of the sun hit a surface, strike a surface, it creates basically, an electrical potential. And so when it strikes a surface, electrons are released, and we are able to harvest some of those electrons via our skin through our melanin. And that's one of the roles of melanin, is to be able to absorb sunlight. So just from those things, we can understand that the sun is crucial to our life and the grounding is crucial, just as important as food is crucial. Because we only think about food, right? When we think that we need more energy, we always try to supplement something. We're always trying to shove something down our throat, thinking that will be the solution to the lack of energy. When in reality, a lot of the times, not consuming excess food, but actually focusing on the other two areas which optimize mitochondrial function, mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell, which gives energy to everything in our being, is what allows it to run more efficiently. So when we are exposed to the sun and exposed to the ground and we have good nutrition, now our mitochondria, which makes the energy, works more efficiently, and the entire system now can have the energy to do what it's meant to do, which is healing, repair, detoxification, have like good cognitive performance, have good training performance, be able to sleep well. And so that is just one area of what, you know, quantum biology does to the system. When we get into circadian biology, that's like a whole nother level, but I'll let you jump in if
Okay.
you have any questions.
Sure. So first of all, I love, that you mentioned both grounding and the sunlight. I've done a full podcast on grounding with Clint Ober, so I can link that here for anybody who missed that podcast. It came out actually the week before the war, so anybody who missed that, I can link that. And I love your explanation, though. It was so simple and so spot on that I really enjoyed that. So I have a question that's sort of maybe a little bit funny. Do you think people, in other words, why do you think that you were a person who maybe had, I'm going to say that in a case like yours, it probably was that excess energy, right? Where you needed that grounding, where I love how you explained it, where you actually probably had too much charge in your body and actually needed to release some to the earth versus someone. I guess what I'm trying to say is this. In other words, as a person, I'm naturally somebody who, I cannot explain to you that I cannot stand artificial light. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
people will walk by my office sometimes because they think that the light, like they see the lights aren't on. Now the reason the lights aren't on is that I have my whole office pretty much is made of glass and I have a big porch to the outside, so I actually get a lot of natural light.
That's
But there
amazing.
is a little bit of a film on that window
Yeah.
because when the sun comes through, like I think you live in Cyprus, am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, because when the sun comes through in the summer, it is so hot that it's like a million degrees, and it also prevents people from seeing into the office. But
Yeah.
I cannot stand artificial light.
Yeah.
And I'm also barefoot all day, although my floor is rubber, so that doesn't really ground me because the floor in the office is rubber.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just wondering if there's a connection between people who naturally gravitate, like I've always naturally gravitated towards natural light. I love the sun. I
Mm-hmm.
love the summer. I don't hide that. It was so gorgeous. It was probably gorgeous by you today too, because we can feel summer coming. Like we live in
Yeah.
an area where 9 months a year we have good weather without rain, and it's just I love it. And so I'm wondering if that has something to do with almost like the natural personality of somebody and the way they might take things in. It sounds like a weird question, but do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I'll answer your first question first about the grounding. So basically, an individual who has, like, we need to understand different environments, right? Modern environment, indoor environment is not natural. It's totally unnatural. So everything about living indoors is completely unnatural. So we're ungrounded. When we're behind glass, we're also getting an artificial frequency of light, because glass, what it does, it converts the light. So it cuts out specific beneficial frequencies and it only lets other frequencies through. So now it distorts the light that comes through the window. So especially modern windows. Old windows don't necessarily do that, but new windows, which are UV blocking or blue light or red light blocking or infrared blocking, they only allow the blue light in from the outside. So now the indoor environment is completely toxic to us. So we want to think of the indoor environment as an electron stealing environment. So that means it's robbing our energy. And we want to think of the outdoor environment when we're fully grounded and outside under the sun, an electron rich environment. And so why we talk all about electrons, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's an electron game. Think about it, your body as a battery that has a specific charge. And if you deplete that battery and you keep on depleting that battery, you're not going to have energy for any cellular processes to occur in your body. And therefore, bad things begin to manifest over time. This doesn't impact you immediately, but it has consequences over time. You know, that's how people develop autoimmune conditions, cancer, you know, brain fog, all these different types of things. It all has to do with the cellular charge inside of the body. Once the body loses that charge, it does not have energy to carry out detoxification, autophagy, apoptosis, which are all essential parts of getting rid of mutated cells, replacing cells, regenerating cells. You know, if our cells are not doing or becoming new and fresh, we are carrying on to keep diseased cells. And, you know, those cells become zombies basically. And then we keep on growing them and growing them. And then they become something that we don't want to be there inside of the body. So it always comes back down to voltage and electrons. So this is why we talk so much about the electrons. But yes, exactly what you were saying about the light in general, the area where we live in the world, it really does impact you as a person and who you are as a person. It's not that people in Nordic countries, they are depressed people, but they are naturally more depressed because there is a lack of light in the environment. So the light itself stimulates specific hormones, right? And this is where we start to get into the circadian rhythm and how we start to understand melatonin, cortisol, leptin, and dopamine, all of these different hormones, how they manipulate our how we feel and our behavior and our energy levels and so on. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Because so the interesting thing backtracking is I have someone that I work with who, you know, I laughed because she came in one day, it was raining, and I'm like, oh, it's raining out. She's like, yes, isn't it gorgeous? I love it. And I'm like, and like I laugh at her all the time, and I'm like, forget it, you're from England. Like that's why, you know, you're used to this weather. And but like she actually thrives
Yeah,
on this like rainy, and I don't get it, you know, because it's to me it's
right.
depressing. And
I
by
can
the
tell
way,
you, yeah,
oh, I was just going to say, by the way, actually, the second I can, so like today, my door to my office is actually open. So natural light is actually coming into the office as well.
amazing. That's
So, yeah.
fantastic. That's
Yeah.
the key, right? When you have glass which is, you know, distorting the light, the key is always to have one window open or something, because light is non-linear. What does that mean? It means that even if the light is not coming directly through the door that you have open, it still floods the space with those particles, with the natural light. So it sort of balances the environment out. You know, so this is the beautiful thing about light. It's almost like liquid. You know, it's able, if you open the door, the liquid's going to flow in, and now we're balancing the artificial light with the natural light, so it's making it less harsh to be in that indoor environment. But to that person that you were talking about, to your client, there is a reason why some individuals love the cold and some individuals love the hot, and that has to do based on where they are born and their genetics and what their body, their mitochondria is optimized for, the environment they're optimized for. However, not every individual who is born in those countries feels that way, because if the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, is not working optimally, they will suffer in that environment. And so the key is wherever you live, you need to embrace the environment that you live in and the seasonality that you are in. And that has to do with the food that you consume, the temperature that you are exposed to, and your light environment as well. And so the key is to always be outdoors as much as possible every single day. Always try and catch the sunrise if you can, and always, like, you know, prevent the artificial blue light at night. And when we say blue light, for everybody who doesn't understand, it's any modern lights. On the color spectrum, it is considered blue. And blue disrupts melatonin, which is our sleeping hormone, our repair hormone, our regeneration hormone. So it has many, many crucial and important processes in repairing the mitochondria and allowing us to produce energy. So if we are exposed to that blue light at night, we are literally messing up with our mitochondria, which is messing up with our energy levels, and that's impacting our whole body. And so, yeah, some people are more designed to tolerate the heat, and this is why, like, their biology is built different. And then some people do better with the cold. But if you are doing better with the cold, you have to be exposed to the cold. If you are not exposed to the cold, your biology is going to suffer. So this is where cold exposure comes in handy. I'm not sure if you've had any other guests on your
I haven't
podcast talking
yet.
about cold, but cold and hot go hand in hand. They are like the two opposites, like yin and yang. However, they do the same thing. What they do is they optimize mitochondrial function, both the sun and the cold. And so now in Cyprus, for example, even though it's lovely and sunny and warm, the sea is still very cold. So what am I doing every day? I'm making the effort to go in the sea. I'm optimizing my mitochondrial function due to the lack of UV light. When we have less UV light in the environment, now my body is receiving less electrons, less energy from the sun. So that means I have to optimize my mitochondrial function to become better at using the food that I'm eating. And that's what cold does. Cold allows us to accelerate our metabolism. It allows us to be able to eat more food and get away with eating more food. And so this is why it's essential to be exposed to cold when we are living in an environment where that is the natural state.
It's so fascinating because I know, though I haven't had anybody come on and do a full episode yet on cold exposure, and it's
Yeah.
in the plans, it's in the working. I just haven't found a particular person to do it yet. But I have this theory, one of the things I know that cold exposure is very good for people suffering from anxiety and different conditions like that. And I always make jokes that I'm like the least anxious person around. So I have this theory. I have a lot of theories. They're called Dara's list of things that she believes that one day research will prove. And one of them is that I think the reason I detest, but when I tell you, I detest cold exposure, but I love the sauna. But I
Mm,
detest cold exposure is
mm,
because like I have no anxiety. So
mm,
but I love the sauna. Like I
mm,
love the sauna. And as you can
mm,
see, I love the red light. You love the red light. You know what I mean?
mm.
But
Yeah.
so that whatever, that's just my theory that like because I'm not anxious, like I don't need it the way other people who because the people I know who are anxious absolutely love cold exposure.
Yeah. It also gives you that time when you get into the cold, the beautiful thing begins to happen where your mind becomes completely empty because you cannot possibly think about something else. Because at the first couple of minutes is pure suffer. And that's good because even though it's uncomfortable, that is actually what's clearing your mind. It puts you inside of your body instead of inside of your head. And too many people are caught up in here. And this is
Right.
why that doing these things, which we call, quantum biology or like biohacking, which is like exposing ourselves to the cold, getting outside, doing the grounding, waking up with the sunrise, blocking the blue light at night, all of this good stuff. What it does, it actually makes you connect with yourself because you're taking small acts throughout the day to do something. So it's like a small act of self-care. It doesn't take long to do, but because you are splitting it into small little acts throughout the day, you are constantly reminding yourself that everything is okay, even if your life may be going, not so well, or you're having a lot of stress in your life. And so, yes, a cold exposure is a stressor to the body. However, it actually helps us, minimize the stress that we feel from life because that feels more threatening than life itself. So, because the brain always works in perspectives. When something is more threatening than the actual threat, then the brain will focus on the most threatening thing. So, for example, laying on a spike mat, which has got all the spikes on, and it's painful at first. So now my body is focusing on the spikes. So I can't necessarily think about anything else. So now when I get off the spike mats, now my body thinks that, oh wow, like the spikes are gone and now I can just totally surrender. So now my body can shift from a sympathetically driven state into a parasympathetically driven state. And a lot of these habits and activities that we're already talking about, which is connecting with nature in general, is a parasympathetically driving, habit and activity. And so I think we should like kind of get into, how circadian rhythms, controls everything and controls the show here.
Can I ask you two things? First of all, can you define quantum biology, just because I feel like we
Yeah.
never gave a like a
Okay.
definition, and
Yeah.
also the circadian rhythms and the circadian biology. If you could just
Yes.
do a definition of those two things, and then we can proceed. It'd be great.
Absolutely. So, what is quantum biology? Quantum biology is everything that is optimizing our body from an energy perspective. So, it's all the things that we can't see that are impacting us, right? So, even the food that you eat, you could call it quantum biology because at the end of the day, that food is going to turn into electrons, which is going to go to your mitochondria. So, it goes back to the beginning of our conversation. So we started our conversation in reverse, but we always go back to the mitochondria. So the story when it comes to energy and living life in vitality is about a couple of things. It's about electrons, it's about mitochondria, and it's about circadian rhythms. So if we get all of those things together, then we can live, quite a vital life. And pretty much everything that we do in life impacts those things. And so this is why then we need to understand what things impact us in a positive way and what things impact us in a negative way. So quantum biology is everything that impacts us that we can see and we cannot see. So it's happening on a deep cellular level, on a light frequency level, let's say, on a quantum level.
Mm-hmm.
As scientists are saying now that when you pull a star in the universe somewhere, you cannot pull it without impacting all the other stars. Because what does that mean? It means that everything in the universe, including you and me and everyone else listening, is quantum entangled, which means that if I'm feeling good, you're more likely to feel good in my presence, and then your energy will impact another person around you. So this is called the quantum effect or the quantum ripple. So it's having a butterfly effect. So a small thing can have a huge impact over time.
That makes a
So
lot of
that
sense.
so that's quantum biology from a health standpoint and also a spiritual aspect as well, because it's all intertwined. We cannot separate health from spirituality, even though that sounds woo-woo to a lot of people. But even if you just want to take something away, understand that there is a lot of things that impact you that you cannot see, like the light that you are exposed to. There is also invisible types of light, like X-rays, for example, or microwaves. Like this is also light. It's part of the electromagnetic spectrum. You cannot see it, but it impacts you massively. If you are exposed to it, it can have detrimental effects to your health, especially if you are exposed to it over long periods of time at high enough intensities. So it's all about these things. And when we talk about circadian biology, that um, relates to how light and darkness impacts our biology. So our body has an internal clock. Every single cell in the body has its own clock. The eyes are considered the master clocks because they tell all the other clocks what needs to be happening inside of the body. So this is why we wear blue light blocking glasses at nighttime, because the eyes are the first thing that tell the rest of the cells what time of day it is and what's actually happening and what the cells need to be doing in accordance to the light that is being received from the eyes. Secondly is the skin. We also get a lot of information from the skin as well. But we are most impacted by the eyes. Around 70% of the information that we receive is we are impacted by the light for the circadian rhythms. Other things that regulate our circadian rhythms are, for example, the food, the timing of the food that we eat, and also the time of the day that we exercise. And of course, many other things such as caffeine intake, alcohol, drugs, stress, all these things that disrupt our circadian rhythms. But things that influence our circadian rhythms massively is the light and dark cycle. So meaning the presence of sun and the absence of sun.
Okay, well, now you've really piqued my interest because you said, the times of day that we eat, the times of day that we exercise. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And you
Right.
guys can't see Andreas, but he is wearing blue blocking glasses and he's making me feel like I need to get some. So I might
Yeah,
have to get
I,
some. But
I highly recommend because,
yeah,
um, when you start doing it, you start to notice how much it impacts you on a crucial level. So how sleepy you feel before going to bed. So actually naturally tired, not exhausted tired. So you're supposed to feel this nice kind of tiredness, like you are relaxed, but you are feeling tired. So you feel like you can just doze off into dreamland. That's how you need to feel before bed. And that happens by minimizing the artificial blue light at night. So now let's explain to people what different light frequencies do so we can get into the other topics because this is all related. So we need to start off with the sunrise. So if we start with the sunrise, we when we observe the sun on sunrise, it's primarily red and a blue sky. So the red and blue together is telling our body to wake up in the morning, and the red that is present in sunrise is the exact same frequencies that you receive from a red light therapy panel that you buy. So what does that mean? That means that you get red light therapy from the sun in the morning at sunrise and at sunset. So being in the presence of that light, meaning looking in that direction, for example, at the sky, you don't need to look at the sun to blind yourself, but I don't recommend anybody to do that. I personally myself do eye exercises towards the sun every single morning. That's just my thing, but I'm not telling people that you should do that because it can potentially be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And because I believe that the sun has healing properties and we need to take advantage of those. So just by simply being in the presence of that light, so when you wake up in the morning and you make an effort to go outside and you try and put your bare feet on the ground, if you can't do that, even just being outside with your windows open, that is a massive benefit to your biology. That is setting the tone for the day and is telling the body when it should release melatonin 12 hours after that. So this is why being exposed to sunrise is so important because it tells us when melatonin should be released, which is like it's in the evening, right? But
right.
melatonin is actually made in daylight hours, being exposed to sunrise and UV light in the middle of the day. All of that is helping melatonin production and melatonin release. So when it actually goes into the system and it actually floods the system and makes us feel sleepy, occurs only in the absence of light. So when light is not present anymore. So that means that you cannot release melatonin or in the absence of blue light because blue light indicates to the body that it's daytime. So when you look at the sky during daytime hours, pretty much from after sunrise all the day until sunset, it's quite blue, right? The sky. That's meant to keep you alert, focused, aware. It's meant to keep you in the hunter-gatherer state to find your food, to be able to be focused to survive from an ancestral perspective. And so this is regulating also the hormones that are being released. So therefore, cortisol is also high in the presence of blue light. And cortisol is the yang and melatonin is the yin. So like they are the exact opposite, but you need them both. You can't have one and not have the other because cortisol wakes you up in the morning. So when the sun begins to rise, you also have blue in the presence of red, which actually wakes you up. The blue light raises your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. So as it wakes us up in the morning, that gets us energized. It makes us feel good. If our circadian rhythms are thrown off and our melatonin is released not when it should be released and it's released later in the night, what happens? It's still going to be in the system when you wake up in the morning, your melatonin. You're going to feel drowsy and lethargic and possibly even vertigo sometimes because that's what it does to you. It's like it totally knocks you out. It's like a drug. It's like taking drugs, when you have high melatonin in your blood. And so you need high cortisol levels to shut down the melatonin to be able to get you out of that drowsy state. And this is why people drink coffee in the morning. It basically raises your cortisol. But you want that to occur naturally. You want to be feeling energized before you drink your coffee. Because if you're doing that, you're just suppressing your body's natural ability to do what it's meant to do. And so now moving on to the evening hours, when the blue light is absent, that is when we can start to release our melatonin. But we need to realize that the optimal time to release melatonin is around 10 p.m. And so if we do not release it at that time, we are going to release it later if we have prevented it from being released due to late caffeine intake during the day, or eating too close to bedtime, or exercising too late at night, or being exposed to artificial blue light at night, or even you're not exposed to any of those things and just having your Wi-Fi router on and your mobile phone close to you can disrupt your melatonin release. And this is why it's crucial to shut your Wi-Fi at night, to put your phone on airplane mode, to try and distance yourself and reduce your non-native electromagnetic field exposure. Because as we mentioned, electromagnetism is also light that you cannot see, but your cells can perceive it. So when we understand this clock, this rhythm, that melatonin should not be disrupted and that it needs to be released early in the evening because you don't want it to be floating in your blood in the morning, you see, because you want it to get out of your system like a drug. You want it to sort of peak, to have a half-life. You want it to peak and you want it to drop off. And then you want your cortisol to rise and then cycle repeats. And this is basically the control of the dark and light cycle.
Okay, first of all, that was such a clear and incredible explanation. So I just needed to tell you that you explained that so clearly that it was so easy to understand. And I just really appreciate that. That was really a great explanation. Okay, so now I want to ask you then about times of eating, which it sounded like you already said you want to eat in the times the same as when there's blue light, I guess, meaning times when you should be awake. And like you said, not too close to when you go to sleep. But you also talked about exercise. So it sounds like really the best time people should exercise is early in the morning or in the morning.
Correct. Yes. However, you don't want to do it too early. So, for example, if an individual wakes up at 5 a.m. and they go to a blue lit gym, for example, under artificial lighting, that's totally wreaking havoc on your hormones. And that's messing up your circadian rhythm. Why? Because you're now excessively raising your cortisol levels, and it's going to have a very hard time to come down. And that's going to rob a lot of energy, which your other hormones require, like testosterone, estrogen, and all of these are produced from a hormone called pregnenolone. And pregnenolone produces all the other hormones. And if we steal energy, meaning that you have a certain reserve of energy for your hormones, if you give all of your energy towards cortisol, so that means you are sympathetically driven, you are not going to be able to produce the other essential hormones that you actually need. And so therefore you are going to be totally fried by midday. And then you are going to need more caffeine to keep going. And no amount of food is going to solve your issue unless you get outside and get grounded. Because that's the only way to be able to harvest more energy from the environment. Your body can decipher the energy from outside easier than the food that you eat. Think about when you eat food, you have to first digest your food, break it down, and then you need to be able to absorb your food if you absorb your food. And then you need to then convert that into, chemical energy and then into electromagnetic energy. So for it to do all of those processes, it takes a lot of energy from the body. But good job that the sun and the ground can give you the exact thing that you need. It skips all of those processes and it gives you directly the electrons without needing to consume food. And so if we want to regain energy back, it's all about restocking our battery up and preventing the depletion of our battery. This is what it's all about. It's a battery game. So the more energy we are able to harvest, the more in vitality we can be. The more energy we get drained and we never stock up our battery, the more, in diseased state we are going to be, because disease cannot occur in the presence of excess energy. Disease occurs because of the absence of energy, because the body does not have the energy to do what it's meant to do. And by energy, we do not mean food, we mean electrons. And we talked about how the body gets electrons. And so, yes, the ideal time for an individual to do exercise is around mid-morning, when you have allowed your cortisol to drop off a little bit, and then you exercise. Now, I don't have necessarily a problem with people exercising indoors in gyms under artificial light. I don't have a problem with that. The problem occurs when an individual lives the majority of their life indoors. So 90% of their time, they go from their home to the car, from the car to the office, from the office to the gym, from the gym to the supermarket, and from the supermarket back home, and the cycle repeats. This is a deadly cycle. Why? Because that individual is getting energy only from one source, which is the food, which is only 1/3 where we get electrons from. We need to be getting the other sources of energy. Eventually, that individual is going to have a crash, is going to have a burnout, and is not going to understand why. Even though they're eating the right foods, even though they're exercising, even though they're sleeping 8 hours every night. And so it's not only about blocking the blue light at night to save yourself, but it's about making the effort to go outside and get grounded. That is a pivotal part of this whole process, because if you do not get the essential light frequencies, think about the sun as a whole food and artificial light as a junk food. So it's devoid of all the essential minerals and vitamins and nutrients that your body needs. But sunlight comes in complete form. So it comes with infrared light, it comes with red light, it comes with UVA, it comes with UVB, it comes with blue light together as a full spectrum. Full spectrum lighting versus isolated light makes a huge difference on your biology, because from that alone, just those frequencies of light are playing like an orchestra what your cells should be doing at what time of the day. So your body has a specific rhythm, the circadian rhythm, and it has to be in connection with that light and the ground, because the ground also provides that information as well about the time of day, what things should be occurring and when. And that happens more and less depending also on the season. So it also informs your body about the seasonality. So what should my cells be doing based on the season? Should my cells be generating more heat if it's cold outside? And how does it do that? It does that by optimizing mitochondrial function, because one of the functions of mitochondria is for heating the body up, but that occurs due to cellular respiration, which means that the electrons travel through the mitochondrial matrix and they pass through these respiratory proteins, which are called checkpoints. And it has multiple of these checkpoints. And on one of the checkpoints, it releases red light and infrared light, which is heat, basically, and water, which is mitochondrial water. And that's actually how we keep our cells hydrated correctly, not through the water that we drink, but from the light that we are exposed to.
Okay. All right. That brings up a bunch of questions for me. Okay. First of all, you talked about caffeine. Is it okay if I want to drink a cup of coffee in the morning? Like, I think you mentioned, like, it shouldn't be the first thing you drink.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, I want to wake up, go outside into the natural blue light to allow that to start waking me up, preferably while I'm grounding.
Yeah.
And then I can drink my coffee.
So I'll walk you through the ideal day from a
Okay.
circadian standpoint, and this applies always and in every season.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what the season, where you're located in the world. This is what people need to do.
Okay.
Okay, so wherever you're living in the world, it doesn't matter. You need to wake up with the sunrise. If you can't see the sunrise where you live, it doesn't matter. You need to still get outside because even if it's overcast, even if it's cloudy, the light frequencies still penetrate the environment. That is still informing your body what time of day it is. It's that important to get outside.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second to tell people. Luckily, you should all go get a dog. I have a dog. So the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I get outside and I walk my dog.
Perfect, perfect, exactly. That's like yeah, the more excuses that we have to be outdoors, the better, you know?
Yeah. Oh, go on. I have interrupted you. I apologize.
No, no, no problem at all. So yeah, so it doesn't matter like if it's overcast or cloudy or rainy or whatever, we still need to make an effort to open our windows in the morning and to know what time is the sun rising, even if it looks dark outside. We need to just still try and expose our eyes to the natural light of the environment. It's not necessarily staring at the sun, but it's naturally just trying to be as much engulfed in the environmental, light that exists naturally outside from the sun. And then that will inform our body what it needs to do for the rest of the day, even if we are not exposed the rest of the day to the light. At least we have gotten that light in the morning to tell us this is now what time of day is right now. At least you can keep a track from now on what's going to happen throughout the day. But moving on to the ideal day is that, we want to be spending as much time outdoors as we can when we can, even if we have breaks at work, to make an effort to go outside or to open the windows if we can't go outside to get grounded. Because as I mentioned, we are receiving not only beneficial light frequencies for our body, for the cellular processes, but the time the body is in for constantly, it's like checkpoints, you're time stamping your body when you are exposed to light outside, because the light throughout the day is never the same. Even though it looks the same at some parts of the day, it's not. It's constantly shifting. The frequency between blue light, red light, UV light, all of this, green light, it's like a ratio, right? You start in the morning, more red ratio, more orange ratio. It starts goes more blue, more UV light. That's indicating the body alertness, awake state. So when I say that to you, what does it mean when we talk about artificial blue light at night? Your body thinks that it's 12 o'clock at lunchtime at night when you have that artificial blue light on, because that's what occurs in nature. Your body always tracks nature, and that's what it knows. So if you keep the artificial light on at night, or you're not blocking it with blue light blocking glasses, you are going to be tricking your body into thinking that it's daytime. And then what you're doing, you're shifting your entire circadian rhythm forward, which is what I talked about, with the melatonin being
Right.
released too late in the night, in the middle of the night, instead of being early in the night. And then you're feeling groggy in the morning and tired, and the whole cycle repeats. And
Right.
so at the beginning, what you want to do, you want to make the effort, even though you're tired, and you're going to feel tired probably the first few mornings when you do this, to wake up with the sunrise. If you're not used to waking up with the sunrise, it's natural that you feel tired because your whole clock is messed up. So to actually take charge of your clock, you have to like take the first step, which is with the sunrise. After that, and being exposed to the sunrise, very crucial, not only waking up with it. After 1 hour of sunrise or half an hour, then you can drink your coffee, because then you're allowing your body, you have naturally risen your energy levels, and now your body is able to tolerate some caffeine. But you never want to consume caffeine after, if you're going to bed, let's say 10 o'clock, you don't want to be consuming any coffee after 2 p.m. in the afternoon, because caffeine stays typically in your system for around, or the half-life of caffeine is 6 hours. And depending on how many milligrams of caffeine you take, it can be even longer. So if you take a massive amount, or if you've been drinking many throughout the day, the half-life of the coffee is now going to be longer in your system. So that half-life means how long does it take for it to get detoxified out of your system, or for the body to break it down, to
Right.
detoxify. And so, yeah, that's the caffeine topic. But then when we move, into the daytime, again, as I mentioned, you want to be outside as much as possible to receive the light frequencies, to get the grounding, and also to be exposed to the outdoor temperature, to the fresh air. Because temperature is also a circadian rhythm setter. Notice how temperature changes in the morning and in the evening. It's cooler in the morning, it's warmer in the middle of the day, and it's cooler again in the evening. Well, I guess that plays a very important role to our circadian rhythm. Anything that has a rhythm to it is crucial to your biology. You need to be synced with that. And I don't think I need to be saying this, because what I need to be saying really is that we just need to be connected with nature more. That's what I'm trying to say. This is the whole message here. The more in alignment with nature you are, the more you listen to nature and observe what nature is doing, and you live by nature's laws, you do not break her laws, the more you will thrive, because that is how everything in nature operates. The plants, the planet, the animals, everything else is thriving except humans. Because why? Because we have broken the laws of nature. If you break the law of nature by putting an artificial sun in your home when sun is absent, now you have ruined the cycle, which is never meant to happen.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating. Okay, I have a very important question. If I'm wearing my blue blocking glasses, am I allowed to look at my phone at night?
It depends. So here's the thing, right? So if you have to look at your phone, of course you should be wearing blue light blocking glasses. And
Right.
of course your environment should be red at night. This is why you and me right now, we have red environment. Why we create a red environment is because no blue is present after dark. But what is the last thing that our eye sees before it gets dark? Red, because that's the color of the sunset. That is the last color your eye is meant to see. So even red light disrupts melatonin if it's in excess, meaning that if the brightness is too much, because your body can also tell how bright an environment is. So if it's too bright, it also disrupts melatonin, but it just doesn't disrupt melatonin to the same extent that blue light does, because blue light is like the opposite extent of red. Red is like literally putting it in you in this sleep mode, and blue is putting you in this awake and alert mode. So yes, so if you have to use your phone at night, you have to have like as much red in your environment as possible to dilute the colors, right? And you want to also have the protection of wearing red blue light blocking glasses, not the
Oh,
yellow
okay.
ones, because the yellow ones are for daytime. So if you're behind artificial um, or behind glass, which makes the light, it distorts the light frequency, so it changes it now. You're getting more blue in from the window. Then it's wise to wear yellow blue light blocking glasses, because that converts the light more to a natural spectrum of more yellowy, like it would be in nature.
What
And
about,
and
oh, so
if
I,
you
I
are
apologize.
exposed to screens, if you are exposed to screens in the daytime, 100% you have to be using the yellow glasses. However, if you have a window open and your screen is right there, you don't have to wear the glasses, because your eyes are exposed to the natural frequency. They're getting the full spectrum sunlight, so that is overpowering the eyes versus the screen.
Okay, that's fascinating because what I wanted to just say was a lot of phones nowadays and tablets have blue, like they call it blue light blocking, but it's sort of a yellowy browny color. It
Right.
turns the
Yeah.
screen. Can you use that at night or during the day you should use it or
You're asking great questions. So, the iPhone especially, you have this mode where you can change the theme and you can make the screen red. And so when you make it red, of course, it's more ideal. That's less disruptive to your melatonin. However, you need to consider that how is a LED light lit up behind with blue light. It's lit up with blue light. And this is the shitty thing that you cannot necessarily get away with just having just a red screen because the backlight that's lighting up the red is blue, even
Okay.
though you cannot see the blue. So what you want to do, you want to wear the blue light blocking glasses because they are dialed in specifically to block 100% of the blue light and have the red filter on your phone.
Okay. Okay.
That's
All
the
right.
most ideal.
I'm gonna try to limit it to just two more questions plus my final one because otherwise I could talk to you all day because I know that there's so much more to delve into. Okay, so one of my two questions was going to be how many different colors of glasses do you have that you switch to during the day?
I have just two glasses. So I have the yellow ones. I mean,
Okay.
there are three that you can buy, but
Okay.
I only have the yellow ones and the red ones, the
Okay.
dark red ones. So the thing is that with the yellow ones, they're for the daytime, and that's if you're in an artificial environment, in an office that's got no windows, you're under fluorescent light, you've got a computer in front of you, you do this kind of desk office job, which is, you know, a very energy zapping. And so this is why for those individuals, it's crucial that you get outside during your lunch breaks and you get grounded because that helps discharge the electrical, voltage that you've built up in your system and also gain electrons as well from the ground. But you also want to be protecting your eyes. If you don't want to be wearing the glasses, you can buy actually yellow screen filters that from Amazon that you can put in front of your screen.
Hmm.
And so actually that blocks the yellow. Some individuals who do not do jobs involving editing, meaning that you don't need to mess around with colors, your job is got to do more with Excel or, something that's not so creative. You can even put like a red filter on the screen, like a plastic covering that goes over the screen, because then that's even more ideal because there's no reason for you to even see through the yellow because you can still see what you're doing, but the screen is red, which is most ideal because you're blocking 100% of the blue. The only issue there is that if you have fluorescent lights on top of you, you're still getting like, there is still a problem. So that's why it's better to be wearing the glasses and so then you're fully protected. I mean, you're not 100% protected because your skin also has photoreceptors in it, which can sense the time of day as well. So this is why, if you are exposed to bright artificial lighting, ideally, you want to be wearing long sleeves and you want to be wearing the yellow blue light blocking glasses in the daytime. And the red ones come on as soon as the sun has set. So that means that, if I have to look at something blue, like my screen, my phone screen, computer, or even in the fridge, fridge has like a damn blue light. Like when you're driving though, you cannot wear the red glasses because you can't see the traffic lights changing color.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is dangerous. And
Yeah.
also it's a bit dangerous. You need to stay a bit alert, right? So driving at night sucks. I don't recommend that people drive at night anyway, because, it's more dangerous. Like I hate driving at night because it's so blinding by everyone's headlights, and all the modern cars now, if you've noticed, all their lights are blue. In the past, they used to be more yellow. And now
Right.
all the modern lights
True.
are this piercing white light, and especially if they have their headlights on, it's so blinding. Oh my God. So the yellow glasses, you can't wear them when driving because those are kind of like your daytime ones and you can see
Mm.
colors changing in. It actually makes the road brighter when you wear the yellow ones.
Oh,
So it's
interesting.
actually quite nice. But the red ones, no, I don't recommend them when you're doing something, you're doing something dangerous or, just for home use
Okay.
is better.
So now I believe everything you've said, but how come? So I know this sounds crazy. I
Okay.
have always been the kind of person, and I asked somebody else on one of the podcasts this also. I don't remember what they said, and I don't remember who it was, but like I'm the kind of person that like if you put on a movie, right? For many, many people, let's say you watch a movie at night, right?
Right, right.
Everyone in my family, it's nap time. Movie comes on. I could go to the movie theater. Like literally, it was torture for me when my friends would drag me like when I lived in New York in college, like to like a midnight movie. Like this, I used to call it a $10 nap. Okay, today it would probably be a $20 nap. I don't even know what the movies cost. But like like have never been able to stay up and watch a movie with somebody in my house. Like the second the screen comes on, I'm out.
Yeah.
Why is that if the blue light should be waking me up? Or do you just have this or just a theory? I don't know.
It's just because you're getting cozy in that environment. And actually, that's a good thing that you fall asleep because then you actually protect your melatonin because you actually shut your eyelids. So then you're not exposed to your eyes need to be exposed to the blue light, right? But if you're actually already tired and you're super cozy and you're with good like vibes, because it's not only about the light, right? It goes on such a deep level. It's about tribe as well. So if you have a good community around you and you feel safe in your environment, you feel good in your home and you feel relaxed and you've got nice dim lights on, and everything like that, that will 100% put you in a sleepy state, even if you have a blue lit screen in front of you, because it's the difference between having it here versus far away. When you have a phone screen close to you, you are engaging with the screen most of the times. So you are also using your fingers, you're constantly stimulating your brain. But if you're just watching a movie, you're not doing that. It's way
Right.
further away from you. And the inverse square law says the closer you are to the source of radiation,
Mm.
the more exposure you get, the
Okay.
higher the exposure. So
Makes
that
sense.
means the more closer you are to the TV screen, glued on the TV screen, the more blue light you will receive. The further away you are, it decreases dramatically. So this goes not only for blue light, but it also goes for electromagnetic fields, Wi-Fi's, mobile data, microwaves, cell towers, all that stuff. The closer you are to that, the longer you are exposed to it at a high intensity, the more harmful it is. But the further away you are from it and the shorter period of time you are exposed to that, the better it is for you. And so even if you are living close to cell towers,
Mm.
but you are not spending so much time there, or you are trying to distance yourself as much as you can because distance is your friend, because it all has to do with the inverse square law. So the amount of exposure that you receive multiplies exponentially the closer you get to the source of radiation. And light is radiation. It's part of
Right.
the electromagnetic spectrum.
Okay, and what if I want to read at night? Because now that you're talking, like I never thought about, the light from the lamp by your bed as being artificial light, but actually it is.
Yeah. So of course, as we mentioned, it should be red, right? So if it's red, it's okay. You should have it like on a way, like more dimmer mode if possible, or get a red light, which is not so harsh, not so bright. And then, okay, it's totally fine for you to read at night then. But if you have a blue light on, then definitely not, because then you're just stimulating your mind. The worst thing is when people have these e-readers,
Right.
they are backlit with blue light.
Right.
That's the
Right.
absolute worst because
Right.
you think you're trying to like fall asleep. Probably in the past people with books would just fall straight asleep with the book. And it's okay if the book falls on you and you're kind of like laid in the bed. But now with that, you can never fall asleep because it's literally stimulating your eyes all the time. And not only that, you're probably getting some electromagnetic radiation from the device as well if it's connected to Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually, again, it's one of those things like I cannot read personally. I just cannot read from an e-reader anyway. I have to hold a book in my hands. And
Yeah.
so I will say this, one of the best things, is that we observe the Sabbath. So we have 24 hours, once a week where we're not connected to any devices, where the only
Wow.
lights we have on are lights that are set or they're set on a timer. And so,
Nice.
we have a light that will like turn around, you turn like a shade around so it
Uh,
covers it at night. And I mean, it is a blue light, but but
yeah.
I'm considering now maybe I should put a red light bulb in there. That's
Yes,
just,
you should.
yeah,
Definitely.
that's what I'm thinking of doing.
Anything circadian like optimized is the best way. So anything after sunset should be read as a standard. Minimize blue light at all costs. So this is why, like, if you need to be doing something you know, the best thing is to buy as many red lights as possible, because then you don't have an
Okay.
excuse to
Right.
turn a red light on somewhere in your house. If I take you through a tour through my house
Right.
right now, I have
Yeah.
literally red lights everywhere. I have red lights in the bedroom, red lights in the bathroom, red lights in the kitchen, red lights in the living room. And so the reason I did this is for convenience, because I don't
Right.
want, because of course I need light when I go to the bathroom, right?
Right.
So I don't want to put the blue light on, or if I don't want to be wearing my blue light blocking glasses, I basically don't need to put any blue lights on. But if I put the blue lights on, I need to be wearing the blue light blocking glasses. So you don't actually need to wear the glasses if you don't have any blue in your environment.
That's fit. I love it. Luckily, almost, you know why? There's only a red light in my little office slash closet here
Uh-huh.
because the light burned out in the fan. So the only light I have in here, and most of my house, most of the light bulbs have burned out, and there's so many different light bulbs in this house that I haven't replaced them. And now I'm thinking I'm going to go and replace them with red light bulbs. I like
Yeah,
that. So
it's the best thing. And of course, for the daytime, if it gets dark inside, the best thing to have is circadian appropriate light bulbs, which means that they are full spectrum light bulbs. You can buy now full spectrum
interesting.
light bulbs, which means that they are coming with like the infrared and the red and the blue. And so that means then now they're coming with the full spectrum, just like the sunlight is. Of course, nothing beats the sun, but at least it's more natural to your biology. It's not that harsh blue light. It's more like yellowy, more
Where do
natural.
you buy that? Is it called a circadian light bulb? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, just Google circadian light bulb or full spectrum light bulb. Even online, when you search for, where you um, plant growing light bulbs and things like this, you will find so much good stuff
Oh,
just from what you
interesting.
use to grow plants.
Right. That's so interesting.
Even the
Oh,
red light bulbs if you search 660 nanometers, which is the frequency of red light on the electromagnetic spectrum, because every frequency, every color, when I say frequency, I mean color, it has a certain number on the electromagnetic spectrum. So we can identify where it is or which color it is. And 660 is in the red range.
okay. All right. That's all
So
good to know.
660 nanometers. So that will be the red light that you get from a red light therapy panel. That's not infrared light, that's red light. So that is the color. Infrared is invisible to the human eye.
Right. Okay. So now let me ask you, what does spirituality mean to you? We got a taste from you already, but
Right, right. Well, I guess that's like a really big question, right? So I guess for me, it is to live life with purpose, and to live every single day with a meaning, that I'm pursuing something meaningful and that I'm helping people and bringing forth the wisdom and the knowledge which I constantly learn, right? So spirituality is something that you are trying to embody the universe's wisdom, because of course we are not living on this planet, you know, just by ourselves. We are living in a universe. So a universe can be like, think about the planet as a cell, and the cell is inside the body, and the body is the universe, our universe. So our Earth is inside this universe, which is inseparable, right? But instead of thinking about, outside space and time and aliens and all this kind of business, it's more about there seems to exist in nature, when we look at nature, this electromagnetism, which we can also refer to as spirituality. So again, it's making us more human. It's bringing us back to our humanness, back to our senses, back to our reality. Notice that when you spend a lot of time on social media or on technological devices, that you get very little irritable, you become very aggressive, you become more robotic, you become unhuman, you become more disconnected from the real you. And what is to be human is to be healthy and to be spiritually aligned with nature. And so with connecting with nature every single day, you are connecting with yourself, because nature is part of you and you are part of nature. So nature needs you. you know, nature needs us. So it needs us to connect with nature every day. Because if we realize its importance, we also give more credit to nature, we respect nature more, and we are living in alignment with the cycle of life, death and rebirth. So when I die and my body goes into the ground, I feed all the plants, you know, and all the trees and all the mushrooms, and someone eats a magic mushroom and has a spiritual experience, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, like the animals are gonna eat that grass, and then you know, if I'm a human, I eat the animal, and the cycle continues. You know, this is the cycle of life, and so this is the beautiful thing, that energy never dies; it only transforms. So that I'm a very big believer in the fact that me, who makes me, Andreas, is not my body, but something inside of me is what makes me or illuminates my vessel, my body. And so when this body is gone and it served its purpose in this life, and I've dealt with all my karmic, you know, cycles and everything that I needed to deal with, or that my destiny feels, you know, that I needed to deal with, then my energy will then be transformed to something quantum, etheric. So something that we cannot see, like it was on a cellular level, but then now it's existing in the ether, which we call, you know, the space around us. So there's actually so much stuff that we cannot see with the naked eye. You can't see UV light. You can't see infrared light. There's so many parts of the electromagnetic spectrum that you can't see. Human can only perceive like something like 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. Do you know what that means? That means that around you right now, there's so much going on that you cannot perceive. So that means that once you finish from this 3D physical body life, your body now will then be, you don't necessarily, not everybody needs to embody this belief. It's just my belief that then you will become something else. But who knows? You might come back into a physical body, or you might reincarnate into a blade of grass or something like this. You don't necessarily need to reincarnate. It just depends on what your soul or your energy or what you have decided to do once you have left your body.
I actually love that answer because I feel like for the people who are so science based, right, that have a hard time believing in God or believing there's something else out there, you sort of just combined the two things because you're right, right? You know exactly what you're talking about, that there's so many things, we can't see an atom with our naked eye. We can't see we can't see an electron with our naked eye. We can't see a proton. We can't see different spectrums of light, but yet scientists know these things exist. So
Yeah,
just because you can't see God, does that mean God doesn't exist? Now,
yeah,
I'm not bringing, and I've never told anybody that you have to believe in God or that
yeah.
I
Of
believe in
course.
God. For me, that's a piece of my
Yeah,
spirituality for me,
yeah,
but I don't put that on anybody else. But it's almost like, when you're trying to prove to somebody that there is a God,
yeah,
here are all these other things that you can't see with your naked eye, but yet
yeah,
and you believe that they exist. So
yeah.
I really loved that answer. Thank you so much.
I guess when you say God, it encapsulates, uh, you know, it's like the creator, something that has some power that is orchestrating everything, you know, that has made everything occur before, then, and now, and forever. And it's constantly like changing, right? So the only moment that exists really is the present moment. And that is the beauty, that is how we actually stay young forever, or we can stay young for as long as possible by living in the present moment. And we literally stop time when we do that. So time literally doesn't exist when we live in the present moment. But when we start to put our mind on other things, you know, into the future or into the past, that is when we begin to lose time on a cellular level, you know, and this is
Right.
literally impacting us all the time. But, you know, for everybody who doesn't believe in a higher power, it doesn't matter what you call it, God, universe, creator. Okay, if you believe in Wi-Fi, how can you not believe
Right.
in like, you know, the
Right.
holy creator? Because the way that Wi-Fi exists is through the electromagnetic spectrum. Everything literally is electromagnetic. It's vibrating on a different frequency. It's just matter that you can see with your eye is slowed down, atoms on the electromagnetic spectrum. So the reason you can see a rock and perceive a rock is because the frequency has slowed down so much that now you can perceive matter. That thing is a rock, because
Right.
of that.
Right. Right. Listen, you're absolutely right. Okay, so how can people find you? What's the best way for people to connect with you and find you and
So you can find me on my Instagram. So my Instagram is Andreas_David_Christou. And you can find a lot of good movement inspiration that I share on there. Lots of free educational content exactly about all of these topics that we just covered today and much more. And many things about the lymphatic system as well, which I'm very passionate about. I'm going to be diving more into that onto my page in the near future. And also you can find me on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel is Movement Specialist Andreas. And if you are interested in my services, getting a movement plan or a holistic plan in general, encapsulating circadian rhythms, nutrition, and movement, I offer all of that. So just find me on my website at mobility-fitness.com.